Right, Bobby Green versus Jalin Turner. That refereeing performance was horrific at the end. Like, does he want him to die or something? The amount of shots that he took without moving. And I thought the rule was, if you're not moving after you've been knocked down, and you're not intelligently, that word, defending yourself, you have to stop the fight. He was not intelligently defending himself. He was getting whacked. He was getting smashed on the back of the head. Almost. It wasn't the back of the head. It was the back of the ear, sorry. And the referee, what was he doing? Was he just staring at it and just like, I don't know what to do? He was panicking maybe at thinking, will it be an early stoppage? But you could see, when your body goes down limp to the ground like that, you need to be looking at getting ready to jump in. And it was looking like he was going to jump in, but then hesitates and just waits. And at that point, he's already being whacked on the ground to the point where he could be killed or get like severe brain damage or something like that. And anyways, that performance from Jalin Turner, it was a weird one because earlier on, Bobby Green has got a very entertaining style, very slick, hands down, and I think he actually damaged Jalin Turner's knees early because if you look at the opening sequence, when he does that like jumping, what's it called? I don't even know what punch you call that, straight punch, the one he knocked out Grant Dawson with, it did not knock out Jalin Turner. And I'm not surprised because remember, we all know Jalin Turner is a massive weight bully, but it was the other things that he was doing in the fight. He knew that Jalin Turner's a much bigger guy than him, so one thing he did was attacking the knees of him, because if he can attack the knees of Jalin Turner, it's going to be much harder to plant your foot into the ground and throw a kick. And remember, his hands are down, so it's going to be very hard to see when these kicks and punches are coming, because you might think he's going to throw a punch because his hands are down, but then all of a sudden he's going to throw a low kick to your leg, or he's going to throw like an oblique kick or something. And don't get me wrong, Bobby Green is a very intelligent fighter. Like, he does start off very well, but with that hands down style, you are playing high risk, high reward. And we did see some good, like, flashy glimpses of this style. Like, he's seeing that Jalin Turner's got his hand out like he's going to throw a jab. He intelligently reads to slip his head off the centre line, to use that counter to get in the inside, which it then positions him in the perfect position to throw a hook, which actually lands on Jalin Turner, which causes them to create distance. But one issue which Bobby Green did, which was advantageous to Jalin Turner, is when he would throw that low kick to Jalin Turner, he kind of thought that he compromised the legs. So when he eats like a shot to the legs, you will see that Jalin Turner starts to go backwards. And when he goes backwards, that opens the opportunity for Bobby Green to come into the pocket and start coming forward and then try and land first. But because he walks forward at times and doesn't like bounce on his toes when he's coming forward compared to when he's on the outside, he does leave his chin susceptible to being hit maybe with a kick, which Jalin Turner did at one point in the fight, but it's very open to being caught with like a hook. He actually absorbs a double hook combination by Jalin Turner, and the fact that he actually survives this is quite impressive because you know Jalin Turner, another one of them guys who is a weight bully. When he touches you, he's going to have that huge power over you. He is taller than you. Trying to land on him is going to be very hard. And the fact that he didn't get knocked out by this surprised me a lot. But you'll see again, Bobby Green is very good at landing these oblique kicks. It's a new thing that we've seen him do very effectively in this fight, because he's usually throwing with the hands a lot more, but this oblique kick approach, it was working because he was actually forcing Jalin Turner to have to switch stance, because I think he was damaging the knees of him. But because he lands it and he thinks he's hurt, that then in his brain makes him try and pressure forward again. And you'll see here, pressures forward and eats a heavy left as he's going to throw the kick, and then puts him backwards again. So you're seeing that he's actually eating a lot of these powerful strikes from Jalin Turner, but he's becoming too confident when he's landing them leg kicks. Compared to when he was using his head movement to counter and then come into the pocket, he was actually doing better than actually pressuring forward, which seems weird because when you're the shorter guy, you want to be the guy who's coming into the range and fighting in a close battle. But when you're fighting a guy who's much bigger than you, that's kind of risky, trying to fight in the pocket with him. So this strategy of it using the legs and then go into the pocket, it was effective, but he was getting better success when he was countering off Jalin Turner's jab. Because he knew most of the time when Jalin Turner was going to throw a jab, what do a lot of fighters like to do? Follow up with a cross or an overhand. So Bobby Green was able to read it and slip his head off the centre line. And you're probably thinking, why am I saying all this about Bobby Green? He lost the fight, he got knocked out. Yeah, he did. But Jalin Turner, before that knockout, it was actually a fight which was competitive, believe it or not. Because his timing and reactions to Jalin Turner's jab was very effective. Remember, Jalin Turner is a long guy. When a guy like that, who's actually quite fast and has got a lot of power, throws at you and you're able to casually parry and then try and dodge underneath that punch and then clinch onto him, that is some high level stuff, because you don't want to even try and clinch with a guy like Jalin Turner. Although he's not the best wrestler and he's very good at jiu-jitsu, it usually happens when he rocks the opponent. So by clinching him, he's playing a very dangerous game, but he actually uses the clinch to actually move him away and create distance. So that is why I thought it was effective compared to looking to get a takedown. But then when I take you to the knockout here, you'll see that Bobby Green does what he's been doing the whole fight. When Jalin Turner throws the jab, he's looking to parry, move his head off the centre line, and then come into the inside and land a hook. But what he actually does here is he evades it, perfect. He parries the jab, but he goes to throw a punch around the outside, and because Jalin Turner's already threw the jab, he's now closer to the target. So by the time he's now gone to throw off that right hand, Bobby Green's moved his head off the centre line, but because he's not gone to throw in the inside, he's able to actually just land and beat Bobby Green because he's going around the outside. If you're going around the outside and your opponent's throwing a straight punch, you've got to come up and around the top of his chin. And because he's a much taller guy, you're going to have to reach even further. So Jalin Turner's able to beat him to the punch and land a powerful punch right to the temple that just throws him off. It makes him do that chicken-like stumble and then get flatlined. You know what happened, and you know what that ref did was kind of a disgrace. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got sacked. But that being said, Dana White ain't going to sack a guy who's been with him for a long time. But it reminds me a bit like the Benoit St. Denis stoppage, where when a fighter is being beaten up to the point where they aren't even defending themselves. I know that fight was completely different, but it's the same situation in terms of you've delayed that stoppage way too late. Everyone could see the fight was over, and Benoit St. Denis did survive, God knows how, but the referee should have jumped in earlier. And in this fight here, the referee should have jumped in earlier. And when I say Benoit St. Denis, I'm talking about the one against Elizeu Zaleski, that fight, by the way. But this fight was just embarrassing in terms of refereeing, and that's all I've got to say. Jalin Turner on short notice, perfect matchup for him on paper, because yes, Bobby Green can knock you out, but he's a very tall guy, he's much bigger than him, and Bobby Green's got his hands down. I would have liked to see more kicks from Jalin Turner. It was a very good KO in a competitive fight, so yeah. Thank you for watching, talk to you soon.